Hi, I have one very brief question and then another thing that I kind of want to, I'll see if I can lump them in. One thing that hasn't been addressed yet at all is peak oil, and I just want to kind of get that out there and see what some general reactions are. I know we're planning on approaching that at least within the next century, probably more likely within the next 40 or 50 years, and that's going to obviously affect our economy and the demand and supply that we have.
And for people who don't know what peak oil refers to.
Peak oil is when we've used up half of the world's oil supply, and beyond that, the rate of production slows dramatically, kind of falls off on a bell curve. And then also, I know this 2080 has been brought up a lot, this percentage that's mentioned in the Kyoto Protocol. And for me, I just kind of wonder, how long are we going to keep using that as an excuse to not lead the way for developing countries once they are developed and they're looking to us for the next step, and the only thing that we have to say is look back at other developing countries and stand still.
Could I take a... First, could I take a crack at peak oil?
I would like to go to Phillip Stott.
Sorry.
It's a very fine question. Thank you for the peak oil question, because, of course, we're obsessed with oil. But, of course, there's gas and, above all, as Peter's emphasised, coal. And it all depends on price again. Just remember how the dreaded state, the apartheid state of South Africa, actually survived the European embargoes, for example. It was, of course, by turning coal into oil. And there are vast coal reserves. When we're obsessed with the oil, but, in fact, you have to take the whole of the group before you even question that. So look at the whole package, not just oil.
Yeah. Andrew.
If China had continued to grow economically at the rate that it was, and this recent collapse has affected China as well, by 2030 it would have wanted more oil than the world now lifts or probably can ever lift. Obviously, at that point, the future is not possible. The International Energy Agency says expect serious constraints on the supply of oil within 2 years. The Germans think a year. Matt Simmons, the Houston oil banker, says we've already hit peak oil. And what has held up the run-up in prices is the economic collapse. It really doesn't matter. The investments that you would want to make if you were scared to death about peak oil are exactly the same investments you'd want to make if you simply want to make money, i.e. energy efficiency and then renewable energy. So I think peak oil falls into the same problem as climate change. Yeah, it's worth doing something about it because we can make money that way.
Bjorn Lomborg.
Again, we need to get a sense of proportion. A lot of people are trying to sell you, oh, we can move to renewables, we can do a lot of great things. Let's just remember that the International Energy Agency, as you just mentioned, estimate that right now we use about half of 1% of our energy comes from renewables like wind and solar and geothermal. If we don't do anything by 2030, it'll be up to 1.7%. But if we really strive, if we really do everything that all this people over here on this side wants us to do, we might be able to, the International Energy Agency estimate, to squeeze it up to 2.8%. I'm sorry, that's just not going to make a big difference in this world. And that's, of course,
neither are those numbers correct. Bjorn,
well, the point is,
we can meet, U.S. National Energy Lab showed by 2025 we could be meeting at least a quarter of U.S. energy through renewables if we simply made the intelligent investments.
But there was a report in 1950 that said we could do it now. I mean, how can you keep on making these sorts of comparisons?
If you include nuclear in renewables, the figures change.
Hey, I like nuclear. I really do. Remotely sited, 93 million miles away will do just fine.
The only way Britain will meet its targets is very, very simple, as all the governments have known, and Tony Blair knew extremely well, is that if we do not have a new generation of nuclear power stations, there's absolutely no way we shall meet anything like a renewable target.
This concludes round 2 of the debate. Thank you for all of your questions, and thank you to our panel for quite seriously rising to the occasion.